I'll invite our first speaker, Dr. Khurshid Ahmed, to speak. Dr. Khurshid Ahmed is the Information Secretary of Baloch Human Rights Council. Dr. Khurshid holds a PhD degree in biotechnology. He has dedicated over 15 years to the Baloch national struggle and frequently writes articles addressing the social and political challenges confronting the Baloch people in Balochistan. Dr. Khurshid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I thank all the respectful participants for the presence in this conference. This briefing will outline violations of various rights and abuses facing the Baloch people by Pakistani authorities, as well as the state's failure to uphold its obligation under various human rights treaties to protect the rights of the Baloch and ensure accountability for those who violate them. To provide background information for those unfamiliar with Balochistan, it was occupied by the British in 1839 and subsequently divided. Presently, major parts of Balochistan are under the control of both Pakistan and Iran. My discussion will primarily focus on the aspects of human rights violation in Balochistan, which is under Pakistan's control. In Pakistan, since the forceful annexation of Balochistan in 1948, to maintain cultural, economic, and political supremacy, the ruling Punjabis have made concerted efforts to disregard the socio-cultural, economic, historical, and political existence of the Baloch. The genuine leaders of the Baloch have been targeted and excluded from legislative bodies through manipulated elections and controlled electoral process. The socio-cultural and political value system of Baloch have been destroyed and corrupted in a systematic and organized way with the imposition of alien language and cultural traditions and with the introduction of religious narrow-mindedness and fundamentalism. The history of the Baloch in the Pakistani school curriculum is distorted and ridiculed. Their national language is not taught in schools. The Baloch consider these state efforts as an attempt to replace their secular and democratic identity and a mortal threat to their national existence. The Baloch opposition to these suppressive policies and strategies and their call to exercise their right to self-determination have only been met with the brutal military responses by the Pakistani authorities. In the process, the rights of millions of Baloch have been compromised. Currently, Pakistan has employed various major oppressive policies in Balochistan. I will be addressing some of them. One of the main concerns that Baloch people in Pakistan is facing is the Islamization. In order to counter the Baloch people's struggle for the right to self-determination, the Pakistani authorities have been following policies of imposing fundamentalist Islam in Balochistan and Baloch society in various ways. Extremist religious organizations identified as terrorist groups are permitted to operate freely and conduct public gatherings to advance their agendas, while the space for the Baloch political parties and Baloch political activism has drastically diminished over the past 2 decades. According to various government and non-governmental sources, the number of madrasas in Balochistan exceeds the number of schools. School buildings and students in Balochistan have faced continual attacks from both the Pakistani military and religious extremists supported by it. Several schools across various districts of Balochistan have been effectively seized by the military and converted into military bases. In a recent press conference, the Education Minister of Balochistan revealed that 3,500 schools in the region are currently non-operational. Another aspect of the human rights violation facing the Baloch is the exploitation of their natural resources by so-called developmental programs, including the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. These are plundering measures of the Baloch national wealth without concern of their well-being ecosystem. The population of hundreds of settlements failing on CPEC routes have been forced to leave their abodes. At the same time, a large influx of people from the dominant nationality is being settled in the coastal region of Balochistan, thus converting the Baloch into a minority in their own homeland. It is the result of the constant exploitation of the Baloch national wealth that Balochistan has a head count for multi-dimensional poverty at 71.2%, with the worst health and education indicators in the region. Among the other state brutalities, of course, enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings in Balochistan is the most disgusting aspects what Pakistan is doing. Killing of socio-political activists and thousands have become victims of target killings by security agencies and their proxy death squads in Balochistan. Many of those who disappeared were tortured and killed in detention, and their mutilated dead bodies were then thrown in desolated areas and on the roadsides. This practice is known as Pakistan's kill and dump policy, and a newly adopted practice to the counterterrorism department of the police. The Baloch student and activists, particularly those who are forcibly and involuntarily abducted by the agencies and in the custody of the secretive agencies, are being killed in fake encounters. According to the data collected by various human rights organizations and verified by the Baloch Human Rights Council, 452% were forcibly disappeared by the Pakistani security forces between January 2023 to November 2023. At least 45 were extrajudicially killed after they were taken by the security forces from different parts of Balochistan. Dumping of the bodies of the Baloch activists in mass graves is another ugly phenomenon in the protracted war between the Baloch and Pakistan. On 17 January 2013, a mass grave was discovered from Tutak Khuzdar district of Balochistan. Some of the remains were identified as persons picked up by the army's death squad on different occasions. On January 25, 2014, three other mass graves were found after one of them was discovered by a shepherd who saw pieces of human bodies and bones. Another mass grave was discovered on February 20, 2017, with several bodies belonging to the Bukti tribe. On July 18, 2018, a mass grave was found in Panjgur district of Balochistan. On March 31st, 2021, a mass grave was found in Sui Derabukti district of Balochistan. This tax violation has not been limited to those directly involved in the political struggle, but has been extended to the collective punishment of the community, which, with any resistance activity against the security forces, the nearby villages would be raided and mass punishment given to the civilian population. In implementing this strategy, thousands of people were forced to leave their homes, while thousands have been compelled to seek refuge in different countries. In 2008, Pakistan ratified the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and signed both the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the UN Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment of Punishment. However, it is not respecting the obligations under these treaties. Despite repeated recommendation by the Human Rights Council, Pakistan has failed to ratify both ICCPR and UNCAT and the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances, thus incentivizing the perpetrator to commit crimes with impunity. Balochistan is in turmoil. It has been declared a no-go area for the international media and human rights organizations. Nothing of the atrocities is being reported in the international media. Therefore, we request urgent actions from the international community to safeguard the fundamental rights of the Baloch people. We request that Pakistan be asked to ratify ICCPR and CAT and enact implementing legislation to ensure three treaties become part of Pakistan's domestic law. A UN fact-finding mission should be sent to Balochistan to investigate gross human rights violations. Measures should be taken to hold those responsible for human rights violation accountable. So with this briefing, I would like to thank all of you for listening to me.